how to price your services without losing business. Let me see if this sounds familiar to you. You respond to an inquiry on your website. There's a person who's interested in what you provide, but then you provide the proposal, you get feedback, and they say, I'm sorry, we've decided to go with another provider. Your price was just so much higher than this. So how do you go about handling that? There's another problem that a lot of people feel is that they're not being valued by their clients. How do we handle that? But there's another thing that I'm hearing more and more is that you're in business because you want to help the underdog. You feel compassion for the people who are just starting out. You want to offer low pricing for them so that it's easy for them to access you. But at the same time, you're hurting. You're not making enough, or you might be just making enough to scrape by, but you're certainly not prospering. So how do we go about handling that problem while still maintaining your objective of helping those who need it? So what you will gain from today, 3 things. I'm going to help you to differentiate your service or your products from your cheaper competitors. We're going to go over some pricing strategies and structuring your offer without offering hourly rates. I noticed there's someone who's, oh, Stacy, you're in law. I'm curious to know if you offer hourly rates because that's very common for the legal industry. And I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas as to why that might not be such a good idea. And how to actually offer discounts without necessarily compromising on your profitability. Okay, let's start off with differentiating from cheaper competitors. This is your client situation. That they're looking at 2 potential providers. They can't tell the difference between option A and B, so their default option is to go with the cheapest provider. The same thing happens to me when I go shopping, and this is why I don't do the grocery shopping at home. When I go into a grocery shop, I look at all of the hundreds of varieties of, like, let's just say, packet of biscuits. I look at all the biscuits. I can't tell the difference just by reading the description, what the difference is between all of the different types. And so by default, I get the cheaper option. And then my wife gets on my case, and then I taste the biscuit, and then I think, oh my goodness, this is not very nice. I think I'll go with the more expensive one next time. But guess what? The same thing is happening for your clients. They talk to you, they see the higher price. Oh, but this one's so much cheaper. So they go with a cheaper provider, and then they regret it afterwards. And they wish they had done business with you instead. But the thing is, the damage has already been done. They've had a bad experience. They, regret it. They've wasted their investment. And then it causes them to be scared to invest more in other providers. So without differentiation, a purchase decision defaults to the lower price. Therefore, it's incumbent on us to make sure that we can provide them with the ability to tell the difference between the different offers. Okay, as a recap, so if you attended my last Fresh Burst workshop, you would have heard this principle, which is the law of value. And the law of value states that for a sale to occur, the value you provide must far exceed its price. This is worth repeating. For a sale to occur, the value you provide must far exceed its price. That's not to say that you cannot make a profit, right? Far from it. In fact, what usually happens is when, let's just say your price is $1,000 for your service, but as a result of your service, your client manages to make $10,000 profit from the advice that you gave them, right? So that's a way that you can provide exceptional value for the price that you are charging. And so now that you understand this principle, at least you have been introduced to it, here's another thing to add on to that. You've heard that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Well, guess what? Value is in the eye of the client. Different people value different things. And how do you find out what it is that they value? The first question you need to ask yourself is, who is your ideal client? So just for example, my service is sales training and coaching. practically anybody can benefit from what I do, but there are certain kinds of clients who derive enormous amounts of value from what I do, and some clients who derive very little value from what I do. And the question is, what do they care about? What does your ideal client care about? So you must ask yourself, what are your clients' hot buttons? So a hot button is just simply what they care about, right? So it's taking my service as an example again. When a person approaches me for sales coaching, they don't necessarily want sales coaching. What they want is increased confidence. What they want is a pricing strategy, or what they want is to increase their conversions so that they have more revenue. So you need to ask questions in order to find out what your clients' hot buttons are, what they care about. Remembering that value is in the eye of the beholder. So the way that you do this is by seeking first to understand. Great advice from Steve Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Ask pain and gain questions. Ask them, what problems are they trying to solve? What goals are they trying to achieve? If you can discover what their goals are, then you're on your way to discovering their hot button, and then you can tailor your whole presentation around them achieving that goal. Let's get into an example. There are 4 levels of communicating value. So I've just taken a phone as an example, right? So if you're in level 1 of selling, you say that this is a phone, would you like to buy it? Right? So that's level 1. Hopefully none of you are at that level. Level 2 is to describe what features it has. So this phone has front and rear cameras. It has a high resolution screen. It's got 256 gigabytes of storage space. The benefits is what it does. So with this camera, you can take really nice photos. With the storage space, you can store all of those photos. But the value is what it means to the person who's buying. So maybe a person may not care about the camera features. There's this really cool app that you can get on iPhones, which is a measure, right? So you can measure the length of a table or the height of a person. It's a really cool app, right? Lots of benefit from that. But for someone like myself, I would derive absolutely no value from it because I wouldn't use it in my business. However, I find the camera very valuable because I can use that to upload my social media videos. So what I want you to do is when you are in your presentation with your prospective clients, you need to translate and spell out what the value for them is. The way you do that is by saying this phrase, what this means for you is, and then you explain it to them. So our product has this service, has this feature. What this means for you is XYZ. Even when you're talking about yourself, you still translate it into what this means for you is. So let's just say you're the top provider of your service for Australia. You make that statement, then you say what this means for you is. And don't underestimate the power of just simplifying and just spelling things out for your client, because the more you do this, the more they can visualize and picture the benefits for them, and you're making the presentation about them. Ultimately, that's what they care about, and that's the reason that they will buy from you. So I know you're all on mute, but just in your own rooms, just say out loud what this means for you is, and then make sure you do that in your presentations as well. So those are my 2 action steps, my first 2 action steps for you from today. Ask pain and gain questions to find out people's hot buttons, and then in your presentation, say what this means for you is, right? This automatically will create differentiation with your product just by articulating your points of difference. A lot of people out there, your competitors, will not be as good at articulating this. And just by virtue of them understanding what they're getting from you, is that in itself is already creating a level of differentiation. All right, next segment. Structuring your offer without hourly rates. Now, here is why hourly rates suck. So my apologies for anyone here who does charge hourly rates. This is my opinion, okay? The first reason is that it takes focus away from the value that you're providing them. You're putting the focus on the amount of time that it takes instead, and that's not where you want them to be putting their attention. The second reason is that it's kind of a weird incentivization. Like you essentially get paid more the longer it takes you to provide the service. And so from that perspective, if your client has a problem they want to solve, wouldn't they want it to be done faster? If you have a toothache and you go to the dentist, wouldn't you rather that they do extract the tooth or do whatever it is they need to do quickly rather than taking a long time to do it? If you're a consultant, and the business that you're talking to, they have a problem, they're losing money, wouldn't they want to solve that problem as soon as possible? So these are some of the reasons why hourly rates are not in the client's best interest, and it's also not in your best interests. It just puts the focus on the wrong place. So here's the alternative. Create tiers based on your client budgets. So this solves a lot of problems, right? So firstly, you're going to take attention away from the hourly rate. You can use hourly rates for internal calculations. So if you figure out, okay, my time is worth several $100s per hour, then you can use that for internal calculations, for providing quotes and for providing packages. But when it comes to actually quoting to the client, use tiered packaging system. And you can create different tiers based on the client budget. So hopefully by now you've talked to enough people that you've got an idea on what their tolerance and what their expectations are for your service. And then you can have different levels that they can choose from. So then what you do is you determine what goal each level will achieve. So if you go with a basic package, you will achieve these results, and these are the inclusions. If you go with a higher one, then you get these and so forth. Then you can allocate your resources and price it accordingly. So this is very interesting because when it comes to resource allocation, for a lot of us, we're solopreneurs, right? Our time is our most valuable asset. And when it comes to allocating how much time we're providing, we need to be very protective of that. And so we have to figure out ways to scale the business beyond ourselves. And thankfully, there are many ways to do that. You can either hire additional staff, or you can use other leveraged methods like online resources. So here's one example, okay? Let's just say at the top tier, you have a free offer. This is something that typically doesn't cost you anything. And usually these are education-based. And this is what I would call the appetizer level. So when you have a free product, there's many benefits to this. You're educating your clients, you're providing something that's valuable to them, but you're also helping them to understand and differentiate you and your products. So if you haven't already created something that you can give away for free, that doesn't really cost you anything, go and create something as a lead magnet towards your business. The next level is the starter one. So typically these are in group settings. So that's one way you can create leverage, right? So you pack a whole lot of people, each one pays a ticket for themselves. It's a very token price. Or you may provide some sort of online service. So it's highly scalable, right? Then you have the bronze level, the silver, and the gold level. So different pricing tiers and different levels of inclusions for those levels. Okay, so the next action step for you is to create your tiered level products. So figure out what you're going to give away for free, what you can give away for, what you can provide for a couple of $100, then $1,000, etc., etc. All right, next question, or next segment. How do you offer discounts and help those people who need your help without compromising your profitability? Now, if you attended my last session, you would remember I talked a lot about the mindset around money and why it is in everyone's interest that you be profitable and that you charge more. So just very briefly, I'll just recap that very, very briefly. The more profit that you make and the more revenue that you make, the more you can expand and spend money back into the business. And when you are doing that, you are pumping money back into the economy. So if you imagine like the body and the blood system, right? Our vascular system. I was a nurse in my previous occupation before I became a salesperson and then ran this business. So this example resonates with me, and I hope it resonates with you as well. So imagine that blood is like money. The heart pumps the blood around our system and gives life to our whole system. In the same way, businesses are the heart of the economy. When they are doing well and when they are healthy, when they're profitable, they're pumping that money through the system, and it increases the quality of life for everybody in that system. So it is in everybody's interests to make as much as they possibly can, provided that you're doing it in an ethical way, of course. That should go without saying. All right, now here is why discounting sucks. So again, my apologies to anybody who regularly gives discounts, but please, please, please don't discount anymore, at least not without reason. Now, I've got here that the first reason is that it's a total loss of credibility. And to illustrate this, I've got a short story to share with you. There was this guy who was selling artificial grass. He was giving a quote to a prospect, and he said the price for rolling out the artificial grass for you is $5,000. I don't know if that's the actual price, but just for argument's sake. The prospect was a bit resistant to that. They said, "Oh, gee, that's quite a lot of money. Do you think you could discount that?" And then the vendor said, "Okay, I'll discount it to $2,500. How about that? 50% discount, 50%. Now, how do you think the prospect is going to feel about that discount? It's a total loss of credibility. You mean that you were able to provide this at 2,500, but you quoted me at 5,000, hoping that I would go for that. Like, it feels like you're just trying to gouge me." So it's a total loss of credibility when you discount to that sort of extent. Right. So that's the first reason that discounting is not good for you or the client. The other reason is that it's less profit. And if there's less profit for your business, that means you cannot expand. That means you cannot spend more on investing in your business, which is not good for the economy, as I mentioned before. And again, like charging hourly rates, it takes the focus away from the value. Now, I've got another story to share with you, but first, I want to share with you some core negotiation principles. So this is negotiation 101, the very, very basics. Instead of looking for an adversarial relationship, what you want to do is to look for a collaborative one, a win-win. And the key principle here is to never give away something for nothing. And finally, be willing to walk away. There's nothing that will hurt your negotiation abilities than being desperate. So now that story that I promised you. I was pitching to a small business, one of my services. And I was talking to the manager and the salesperson. And I said, "Okay, so this is what we're going to provide. These are the results that we're going to get you. And here's my price." The salesperson then jumped in and she blurted out, "Give us your best price." Come on, tell us what's your lowest price that you can do for this? And my response was, I smiled just like this. I raised my eyebrows and I just kept quiet. I looked right into the camera at the manager to see his expression. And the manager was looking very, very uncomfortable. And the reason that scenario played out that way was because I had established, look, you're going to get this amount of value. I'm asking for this price. And you're asking me for a discount? Like, where's the logic in that? I'm very fortunate that in my business, in my line of business, ROI return on investment is very easy to calculate. So you spend $1,000 with me, and we're looking at potentially increasing your revenue by 10,000, 20,000. And the great thing about education is that it lasts for a long, long time. I try to get my clients a ROI within 12 months, but oftentimes it's much, much more. So be willing to walk away and just really believe in the value, articulate that value, and price negotiations. It's almost going to be a no-brainer. Okay, so instead of giving discounts, here are a couple of examples of what you can give. So you can recommend different tiers of packages, or you can ask for a larger commitment in lieu of in order to justify, say, a 5 or 10% discount, they have to order a larger amount or commit for more months. You can also provide value add-ons. So one of the things that I do is I provide recordings. Doesn't cost me anything to record, but it's immense value for them. Or you may negotiate on the payment terms. So if they pay upfront instead of in the monthly installments, you may give them a small discount for that. So when it comes to helping out the underdogs, I think it's important for every one of us as business owners to donate a percentage of our profit and our time. And you know what? This applies to everybody, not just entrepreneurs. So if you decide in advance that you're going to give a small discount to people who are just starting out, you want to help them out, that's perfectly fine. Just be proactive and mention that up front. But make sure that you're allocating a fixed portion of your business to that target market so that you're not destroying your business while giving that discount. All right, so the action step from here is to decide in advance what conditions you will provide discounts. Make sure you have all your negotiables ready up front so that when the question comes up, you're able to navigate that a lot more effectively. All right, so this from today, we've just very, very quickly gone over some key ideas. If you need some further help, I'll send a link through for you to book a chat with me. I love hearing the success stories. If you have a success story as a result of today, please share. It's a great encouragement to me. And that's pretty much why I'm in business. So let's have a quick recap from today. You can differentiate yourself from cheaper competitors by stating your value and what it means for your clients based on what they care about. You can structure your offer into packages, into tiered amounts in lieu of hourly rates. And you can offer discounts without necessarily compromising your profitability. So just want to leave some closing thoughts before we go into question time. This is from my hero, Jim Rohn, who's passed away a couple of years ago. Earn more than you need so you can help others in need.